Hey guys, I am super excited to show you today and announce to you the workflow management module that Noviqu's been creating. We found that there's a huge gap in the way that we manage our processes right now, both in manufacturing as well as in a lot of other types of businesses. A lot of times you'll have that checklist or the paper form of information that needs to come in. Sometimes it's done even in Excel or another digital solution. But then what happens next with that information becomes cumbersome. There are so many steps in the process and so many ways in which you have to follow up with that information that you spend more time managing that process than you actually do getting the work done. And for that, we created this workflow module. I'm really excited to show it to you today, so let's jump right on in. So this is the workflow overview screen. This is a general overview of every workflow I have in the system. And from here, I can see which workflows are in progress, which ones are stuck, and I can go ahead and create new ones. So that's what we're going to go ahead and do. We'll create a new workflow based around employee onboarding. We went ahead and gave it a human resources category because that way we can really keep track of our different workflow processes and where they belong or what department they go to. So we'll go ahead and create that. From here, we can really get into the meat of our workflow. What information do we need overall? What steps are there on onboarding a new employee? And what information goes into each of those steps? So let's start putting in some information. Over here, we have our inputs. These inputs are the overview of information. So for us in this instance, we're going to add things like employee's name, hire date, supervisor name. We can even include fields that calculate automatically, like a 30-day review date. And we can make sure that that calculates without us having to do any extra input. All right, so I think we're good with our overall information. Let's get started on our steps. The first step in any onboarding process is sending that letter. So let's go ahead and create a step for offer letter. Now that we have a step for the offer letter, we can look at what kind of content goes into each step. That can be anything from a header to separate content or an editor for those instructions, or fields for an employee to fill out that include things like text, dates, numbers, selecting from a list, or a signature. But let's go ahead and let's start with a header. We'll let our employee know that we are so excited to be onboarding them. We can fill out information in an editor, like how to utilize the form and what information should go in this step. Now that we've given some instructions on what we expect out of this step, let's go ahead and get some information from our employees. Things like, when was the offer letter sent? What was the response? We can also include other information, like salary offered. But once we have a general overview of what information we want on this step, we can go ahead and create the rest of our steps. Like day 1, all basic safety training, the pre-skills assessment, some hands-on training where we'll get a buddy and we'll make sure that buddy agrees to be the best mentor that they can for our new employee. At the 30-day mark, we want to make sure that our buddy does a quick review of the new employee and determines if they think they're still a good fit, as well as makes sure that employee takes that 30-day skills assessment. So we'll go ahead and create this review. And then what we can do is we can set a due date. Other settings that we can do for our steps include setting notifications and employee permissions, saying who can do things on which steps, as well as who gets notified when a step is ready for them to comment on it, as well as conditional logic. In some cases, we may want to skip a step based on answers to some of our questions, so we can go ahead and add that kind of stuff in. But for now, what we're going to go ahead and do is publish this workflow and start stepping through it. All right, let's say that it's Dana Scully's first day of work. We'll go ahead and create a new workflow based around employee onboarding and her first day. So we have Dana Scully. We're hiring her Probably not in 2019, but we'll say that the hire date is the 29th. And the supervisor's name is Skinner. That means that our review date should be 30 days from now, or the 29th of May. Now that we've got her going, let's go ahead and make sure we've sent that offer letter. We can go ahead and select which day we're sending that offer letter. So we're sending it today, what the response was, and what salary we offered her. And I'm going to complete and move on to the next step. Now, as we step through all of these things, we can keep track of what's happening at all times. We've got activity over here on the right and the statuses of each step. One thing we can make sure that happens is when we go ahead and select Fox Mulder from the list, we can send a notification to him so that he can come in here and write a note. Or we could go ahead and put in a GIF. In essence, these workflows are for you to see exactly where your work is at any time. So if we go back out to the overview of this specific workflow, I can see that Dana Scully is currently in progress on her hands-on training for her employee onboarding. From here, we can keep adding new employees, and as we do, we can get a better picture of where they are in the process. So now you can get a clear picture of what's actually going on in your workflows. And you can start filtering and sorting and seeing things like the ones that are complete as well as the ones that are currently in progress. And employee onboarding is just one of the many ways in which workflow can actually be used. Workflow can be used for a variety of different things, like production management, safety behavior observations, IT troubleshooting, employee disciplinary action processes, distribution pick logs, washing your pants, putting the kids to bed, and more. We want you to automate your processes so you can spend less time managing them and more time getting stuff done. And that's it. And that's how you utilize the workflow module. I'd love to hear from you guys how you think this could boost productivity in your facility and in the ways in which you want to use it. So feel free to reach out and love to hear from you. Thanks, guys.